All right, guys. This is Abi Forest here. Today we're going to be discussing about what interest rate is all about. Um, Interest rate is basically the price of borrowing money, and one of the tools that the major governments, or let me just say, the central banks all over the whole world, ranging from the Bank of Japan, the central banks of Japan, the ECB, which is the European Central Bank, the Fed, which is the Federal Reserve in America, the Reserve Bank of New Zealand, which is the RBNZ, the Bank of England, which is the BOE, the People's Bank of China, and also the Swiss National Bank. They use interest rates as a tool to curtail inflation in an economy. Don't forget, I usually say that one of the major aims and objectives of a government is to provide price stability, and what they use as a tool is this interest rate as a case study. So they try to increase or decrease the borrowing rate, such that if there is so much money in the economy, and if there's so much money in the economy, there's going to be inflation because the money is circulating, and people are buying so many things. They're buying houses, buying cars. They can afford so many things because there's so much money in the economy. And at the same time, the firms are going to be increasing the prices of goods and services. And once the goods and services are being increased, it's going to cause inflation. And the Fed, which is the one in America, and also the central banks in all over the whole world, they come in with the increase in interest rates so that to curtail lenders or firms from borrowing money. You understand? And once they come to the bank to borrow money, there's going to be increase in the rate they're supposed to pay. You understand? And once there's increase in what they're supposed to pay, it will have a ripple effect on the households such that they will not be able to afford so much, and that's going to reduce inflation. You understand? So it's very much important, and every of these central banks have a benchmark for their inflation rate. They have a benchmark. Like if I start from the Bank of Japan, their inflation quota for year over year is 2%, and currently their inflation is just 1.2%, which is 1.4%, which is below their inflation target. So if their target is 2% and the inflation is just 1.4, so that means that they don't really have much issue concerning the price of goods and services. Also, the European Central Bank has what we call their inflation rate is the benchmark for the inflation rate is 2%. Meanwhile, at this point in time, their inflation is 3.2%, which is much more above their current benchmark. So the Fed, which is the American government, has what we call the interest rate benchmark is 2%. But at this point that I'm speaking, their inflation is 4.2%. Then the People Banks of China has a benchmark of -3% as their inflation benchmark or target. But right now, the inflation is just 1.2%. Then the Republic Bank of New Zealand has a benchmark of 1 to 3% as the inflation status. But right now it's just 3.1, so they've gone above their inflation status. Bank of England, their inflation target is 2%. Right now they are above their inflation target, which is their inflation rate is 2.8%. Meanwhile, the Swiss National Bank, their inflation target is 0.2%. Okay, Swiss National Bank has not actually reached their benchmark. Theirs is 0.6%. So, but their inflation target is between 0% and 2%. So they are still way more within their benchmark. So why do all these things matter? It matters because for traders, you need to understand this inflation rate and their interest rate. If their central banks are going to be having their meeting, or probably they're going to increase interest rate or reduce interest rate, it has a toll effect on what we trade. It has a toll effect on what we trade. When the Fed held interest rate at 3.75% day before yesterday, the market, some of the dollar strengthened, and some of the peers like GBP USD, strengthens too, so it went down. So it gives you an overview of where the current market direction is going to. So that is very much important that you understand all these things. So the interest rate for Bank of Japan is just 1%. They just increased it. It was formerly 0.0 whatever. So but right now is 1.0%. Meanwhile, the Federal Reserve held their interest rate at 3.75%. So that was the day before yesterday, and when that happens, it has a toll effect on the market and dollar strengthening. People were expecting that they're going to cut interest rate, which they've been doing for years, but they didn't do that because of the inflation. Because if they increase if they increase the interest rate, or if they cut the interest rate amidst this inflation, there's going to be much more rapid rise in price of goods and services because of the inflation, and it's going to affect them. And at the same time, you know that the more the increased interest rate, their debt increases. I'm going to talk about that in another episode, how interest rates affect debts and bond. In fact, Japan too is one of those that I'm going to talk about in another episode. So the Reserve Bank of New Zealand has the interest rate is just 2.25%. The European Central Bank is just 2.40%. The Bank of England is just 3.75%. That's the interest rate. And the People's Bank of China is just 1.4%, while the Swiss National Bank is just 0.00%. They don't have any interest rate on anything. So that is one of the reasons why their inflation rate is just 0.6. Their inflation rate is just 0.6. So why do all this interest rate matters? It matters because as a trader, you must know the direction of the market, and there's what we call short term and long term. So immediately this interest rate is being pronounced or announced, it gives a short term direction of where the market is going, and at the same time gives a long term direction of where the market is going. So for those that want to trade anything that pertains to all these pairs, like the USD, like the JPY, like the euro, like the mention those pairs, those currencies, interest is very much important, so that you can know the direction of the market. That's number one fundamental analysis that you need to understand, so that you don't keep guessing. So you haven't done your technical analysis so well, then you need to put into consideration the fundamental analysis to know the direction of the market. So if the interest rate is being hiked or is being reduced, it has a toll effect on the direction of the market. So I'm going to see you guys in another episode. See you guys later. Bye.